together. This is going to help you gauge your organization and your personal readiness for AI. So you don't have to do it during the presentation, but if you want to come up afterwards, if you don't have one of these, or turn and look at a neighbor that does have one, see if you can take a picture of it, do it later. It'll really help kind of land your ideation on where you are and where you can go next. So it's things like your documentation tax and the hiring crisis, right? We're going to talk about that today. The perception gap between leadership and actual implementation, right? So there's a thing called shadow AI deployed in a lot of organizations. People are using AI in their organization, but yet their organization doesn't have an AI policy, data governance, or anything like that. So it's like the Wild Wild West. That's a real thing, and they're using it at a 3x rate higher than their leadership thinks. So that's what that one's about. And then the AI capability assessment. How capable is your organization at creating and deploying at scale AI initiatives? And the last one is, where's your organization today? And that's specifically pulled from a McKinsey study that we're going to talk a little bit about today. And that study talks about the top 500 companies, and we'll dig into that a little bit later. I think we're going to switch over to the lapel and just get the ball rolling, because I don't know if our monitor is going to make it. Yes. Oh, that would be awesome. Thank you so much.
Hi, everybody. I am your impromptu monitor. My name is Mariah Kingen. I'm with Tractor Supply Company, and I'm also on the Legacy Council. And today we are going to be learning about apply AI, practical ways AI is used in facility management and commercial real estate today. As we get started this morning, who is this guy? Okay. Well, we were supposed to have our sponsors on there. So we would like to say thank you to our sponsors, Abby, Branco, Roto-Rooter, and Service Channel. So thank you to them. You see them on the show floor. There we go, we found it. Look at that. Oh, okay, well, teamwork. Awesome. Love it. Okay, so please, before we begin, please silence your phones, and don't forget to thank our sponsors this week for helping make this conference possible. We encourage you to download the conference app called cVent. Once downloaded, search for ConnexFM to access the event, and the app allows you to view the schedule, make connections, and participate in the Sail into Success game. We'll also be using an interactive note-taking platform and Note Event, so you can scan the QR code, access the tool, and it's located in the session app as well for you. In the event of an emergency, a pre-recording message will play on the intercom in English and Spanish. If an evacuation is required, do not use the elevators or escalators. Use the stairs and proceed to the nearest exit. So now that we have all the fun stuff out of the way, I would like to introduce you to our speaker, Billy Holder, founder and CEO of Project AIDRA. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that introduction. And yes, thank you to the entire ConnexFM team, the sponsors, and a big special thank you to each and every single one of you, because you're really what makes these conferences what they are. You bring the energy, you bring the questions, and you are why we're here today, so thank you. I say that because I used to sit in your seat. I was an FM for 17 years, and I've been recovering now for 2. I love facilities management, and I'll get into a little bit about my career here in just a few, but why are we here today? We're here to talk about applied AI. What's the biggest thing? Why did we go down this AI journey? Well, for the last 4,000 years, we've been doing things the exact same way. The very first building inspection is documented in the book of Leviticus, believe it or not. You can go look that up. In 1400 BC. What was the inspection? It was a mold inspection. And the book says that you would go and inspect the space if the unclean stones are found there to be discarded and replaced. Return in 7 days. Inspect again. If it is again infected, the house shall be demolished and moved to the refuse outside the city. And you shall document all this so it is on record of the city. How did they document things in 1400 BC? AI. We really don't know, do we? No, they wrote it down in some form. Stone tablets, papyrus, something, right? It was a manual process. And I guarantee that the majority of people in this room did that exact same process last week. You walked into a facility, you had a $2,000 tablet in your hand, and you walked up to something and you said, "That's not right." You typed a note onto your tablet, you went back to your desk, and you made it work for you. Sound familiar? We all do that, right? Well, it's time to do things differently. Because AI is here for the first time, we have an opportunity to change that process. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is that process, why we're changing it, and how you can actually save time, drive the revenue, and increase your organization's performance using AI. So, who am I? I mentioned I was a facilities person for 17 years. Before that, I was in construction for 11, building houses in the slabs of Louisiana. Hot, sweaty, was not glamorous work, but it taught me the fundamentals of operational success and the foundation of why that's so important. From there, I got the opportunity, because this thing happened in 2005 around New Orleans. It was in August. Does anybody know what that was? A little hurricane storm that blew through. Well, that storm blew me to Atlanta, and it reset my life. And I had the opportunity to do something that people don't ever get the opportunity to do, and that's start my life over with nothing except the knowledge I had gained to that point. And I looked and I said, that's an opportunity. I could have said, "Oh man, this sucks. What am I going to do?" But no. I grabbed life and I said, this is an opportunity, and I went forward. I fell into this career of facilities management. For 10 years, I worked as a carpenter at Georgia State University in their renovations and maintenance department before moving on to Georgia Tech as a supervisor for housing, where I managed 5 million square feet, 52 buildings, 9,000 student beds. Opportunity came again. I've got my first facility manager title at campus recreation at Georgia Tech, the home of the 1996 Olympics when it died. Then I got an opportunity through my professional organizations to become the workplace experience manager for Microsoft at Atlanta campus. 90 acres of vacant land under EPA regulation, and 500,000 square foot twin towers in Midtown. This is where I saw AI for the first time. We had agents to walk through a BIM cave, almost the size of this center of this room, and virtual agents would walk next to you and describe the building, tell you the deficiencies. You could ask it to change the lighting, and it would do it. This is where I first got that exposure. And then I got a call from an old manager of mine. He said, "Dude, you're the only guy I know that can solve my problem if you come work." I said, "Yeah, for the right price." And he paid. Thing is, I couldn't solve his problem the way I had solved every problem before. Usually the problems revolve around process or people, right? Or programming. This was different. We tried changing the programming, we tried changing the people, we tried changing the process, and none of it really solved the problem. And that problem was manual documentation. We couldn't get inspections written fast enough to get the documentation to the people that needed it in time. So we were missing KPIs. I looked at him and I said, "Dude, I know how we need to solve this, but I can't do it working through you." So I left that job and we started Project AIDRA. Project AIDRA stands for the Artificially Intelligent Damage Reporting Agent. That's what we built. I'm an ideator and a problem solver. I can't sit still. Roger in the back is a co-founder and our COO, and he fusses at me all the time about stop ideating and start executing. Because I have a new idea about every 35 seconds. All right, today's journey, where are we going today? What are we gonna talk about? First of all, we're gonna define AI in some real basic terms. I'm not gonna get into the technical weeds of it. I'm not gonna talk about black box stuff. We're just gonna define some common types of AI that we can use every day and what they can do, right? We're gonna cut through the hype. There's a ton of hype out there about AI. Everybody's like, ooh, we're AI enabled. I'll tell you a secret about AI enablement. It's really just a chatbot. We've had those for 20 years. So when you hear a company say AI enabled, ask them what layers of AI that means. How are they using AI? And if it's just a chatbot, ask yourself, do I need a chatbot or do I need an intelligence engine? Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about that impossible mandate that we face each and every day. Do more with less. Anybody? All of us. Yeah, we all have to do more with less. Nowadays, budgets are getting smaller, labor is shrinking, and we're asked by the C-suite to get more information to me. I gotta make decisions. Sometimes can't get those decisions and that information fast enough. After that, we're gonna talk about those organizations that are succeeding. We're gonna look at a McKinsey study from 2024, and I didn't have time to update the presentation. One was released just a couple weeks ago that has updated some of that information. We're gonna look at what are they doing, the top 500 companies in the country, to actually be AI, not ready, mature. We're gonna define what that means. We're gonna talk about intelligent automation. What does that mean, intelligent automation? It's not like a smart device. We've all heard smart, we're tired of hearing about smart buildings, right? I know I am. Intelligence is different. Think about this, real basic, simple example. Smart is setting your Nest thermostat and walking away at home. And it has a programmed schedule, right? It comes on, it goes off. Intelligent is your Google Maps linking to your Nest thermostat, knowing when you leave the office how long traffic's gonna take you to get there and adjusting the temperature. Intelligent to be the right temperature and humidity when you get home. Now we can translate that to building data with sensors and programmatic options that are out there from a ton of vendors. That's a really basic layer of the difference between smart and intelligent. Then I'm gonna share with you some case studies. These are real case studies from clients and friends that have used AI at scale, in an individual, and a lot of other ways. The other thing we're gonna talk about in that case study is why AI is so important, how it's changing what they're doing, and what the documentation means for you from a compliance standard. Because there are new standards out there for compliance around certain things that AI can really help you with. I'm gonna start it off by saying this journey started 4,000 years ago. And we're gonna wrap up there, tell you why. It's time for something. Hopefully we have some time at the end for some questions. This usually doesn't take the whole hour. So hopefully we have some time at the end for some questions. I'd love to hear how you're using AI and what you think we can do with it next. So let's get started. Let's talk about the 4 types of AI. Very basic. Remember I said this is very basic. 4 types of AI that we talk about every day are language models. So language is just that. ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, Claude. This is that blinking cursor in the text box that you have to type into and ask, right? Language models are great at speaking human. They understand. They are fluent in that language, and they can take vast amounts of data and make sense of it, right? Unstructured data is one of our biggest problems in our industry. We have tons of data, but nobody knows what to do with it. This is an area where AI can actually help you figure out what is that data and what can I do with it, and put it in some meaningful sense of order. The next piece is vision, vision-based AI. Quick show of hands, anybody ever used their Google or iPhone for identifying a plant, picture, part, something like that? Guess what? You're using Vision AI. So those that may have said, I'm not using AI and I'm scared of it, if you just raise your hand, you are using AI. It can see and understand visual context. And that's really important because visual context teamed with language, natural language processing, text inputs, etc., can guide AI to solve a multitude of problems. You can also report on change state, change over time. It looked like this yesterday, looks like this today, this is different, and it can give you that information. Machine learning, predictive analytics. It's one of the oldest types of AI that we have. They use this to put the Apollo lander on the moon. They also used it to put the Artemis around the moon, right? AI is not new. It's just new to us because it's in our face all the time. It's new to us because it's pervasive in our culture now. And it's shoved in our faces, use me, use me, use me. Every single AI company out there, OpenAI, Google, all of them, those business arms that are generating those chatbots, they are not profitable. They're losing money every day because they are shoving it in our faces and making us want to use it constantly. And they're okay with it. Because the other thing they're doing is grabbing all of your data and they're using machine learning to train the next version of their model. If you're using a free version, that's what's happening. The last one is the big scary AI, agentic. This is your Terminators, right? This agentic AI is, I know that's a bit of an extreme example, right? But agentic AI can act autonomously. It can take action on your behalf. You can give it instruction, walk away, and it's off doing its thing. And it can do multiple things. It can orchestrate other AI agents to do things. And that's when you have an agentic system, right? So it is probably going to be, over the next 2 years, the most impactful type of AI because it can use each of the other types, right? And it can do it at scale. All right, AI is not going to take your job. Facilities is one of the very few industries that is really insulated and protected from AI. Why? Because we need humans to take care of humans. We're each charged with taking care of a building. Why? Because we need to generate safe places where people can live, work, and play, and gain value in their life. AI can give us the data to do that, but AI can't go turn a wrench. AI can't go unlock a door with a hard key because the batteries failed. Can't do that. At least not yet. There's some robotics companies that might be working on it, but they're not quite there yet. It's not a magic wand. I don't care what Sam Altman or any of the others say. It's not going to solve your problems overnight. It's not. We have to understand how to use it in a way that's beneficial. What it will do, it can document things through the language models. It can see things through vision models, right? It can collect your asset data and help you generate your capital replacement plan. It can do cost estimation, work order analysis, all these administrative tasks that bog us down and take about 80% of our day. Who's using it to write emails? Drafting and sending and all of that, right? It can do all of that. That's where agentic processes come in. You can tell it, hey, when this email from this person comes in, send a quick reply that says, okay, I'll get back to you. And that's an automation that runs. But then you can teach it your voice and tell it to respond like you would to that situation. That's an agentic process. It gives you superpowers. It really will. AI superpower, I heard at another conference from a keynote speaker, he said, the superpower of AI is mimicry. It can mimic human action. That's its superpower. And process gives you that superpower as well. The superpower we're going to talk about today is the freedom from manual documentation and administrative tasks. It makes us better, faster, and smarter than we can be on our own. How many of you heard the phrase, it takes me longer to document the work than it does to do it? Yeah, so a lot of people know that. Yeah. I used to say it when I was a technician. And it's true. Our systems have become so complex, and our staff, not technologically complex. Sometimes they can struggle with documentation. AI can help alleviate that pain. That brings us to the impossible mandate, to do more with less. Right now, on average, through the facilities industry, it takes 4 months to fill a vacant position. You got 4 months to wait for that project to get done? I never did. Our budgets are getting shrank because we're told, oh, well, you didn't spend all your budget last year, so you must not need that much money. Well, we just didn't have that unplanned failure that I actually subconsciously planned for and put in the budget. But yeah, I do need that money because it might happen next year. AI can help you be better about predicting those things. We have a big demand for data from the C-suite. This is how they generate decisions. It's off of data. Everything is, we're data-driven organization. What does that mean? We're a data-driven organization. How good is the data they're getting now? And how is that translating into the decisions that they are making at the top? And how's that impacting your team? If you could give them better data faster, do you think the decisions could be better? And how would that translate across the organization? And the last piece is the breaking. Your staff gets burned out. Your techs get tired of going back to the same air handler or pump, fixing it every week. Because what they don't know is what you don't know, that the asset management team has that on a replacement schedule for 5 years from now. But the work order data is just showing grease the bearing, so it looks like a preventative maintenance task every 3 weeks. This burns our employees out. It drags them to the bottom. Start losing people, which then starts the whole impossible mandate over. We lose staff, we lose money. It's just a vicious cycle, right? So we have to think about how we can do things differently. What does that look like? We really can do more with less now, because less inputs equals more outputs with AI. We can give it a very simple prompt. There was a class yesterday, I think, on prompt engineering. If anyone was in here, you learned how to kind of talk about prompts. Right? It doesn't take very much to get a lot of information from AI. Very simple questions can give us very detailed answers. So how are the companies doing it? In 2024, McKinsey released a study that said the top 500 companies in the world were AI mature. Now let's define, what does AI mature mean? It means that they were using AI across the organization to improve the bottom line. That's the way McKinsey defined it in their study. Not in small teams, not in single silos, but across the organization. When you're using AI across the organization, everyone has access to the same data at the same time. That's how these companies are doing it. A Siemens study alongside that says that we lose 11% of our revenue annually from unplanned downtime. Think about that. How big is your revenue for the company you work for? Now subtract 11% of that. That's a big number, isn't it? Yeah. Unplanned downtime. We're not just talking about equipment. This impacts buildings, equipment, and components. When we can do our preventative maintenance on the regular schedules, on the preferred maintenance plan, we actually improve asset life by 20 to 40%. That 20 to 40% asset life extension reduces our capital expenditures. That drives our bottom line up, right? I'm sure many of us have heard that facilities is a cost center. It costs me money every year. Little do those folks know that say that that you hold the keys to cost avoidance. Not cost savings. We're not saving money. We're avoiding costs. Let's change that vernacular. We're not cost savings. We're not a cost center. We're cost avoidance. AI can help us with that. Through better documentation and intelligence. So when you have an intelligence engine behind your organization that's creating this documentation, creating all this data, and you understand how to use it at scale, you're getting the information faster, everyone has access to it, you're driving better decisions, you're improving revenue, and everybody's really happy. That means you have more time on your hands to hire people, you have more availability to take care of the people in the buildings, your clients, your customers, and the people that visit your stores. Now I want to touch on data sovereignty, all of that. It's really important that you know where your data is, who has access to it, and where it's going, right? So when you're talking to companies, ask them some of these questions. And feel free to write these down or record me for a second. I know the sign says no recording, but you're happy to record these questions. I'm fine with that, so you have them for reference later. Is my data encrypted? If they say yes, say, is it encrypted at rest and in transit? That's big, that's important. Unencrypted data in transit can get siphoned. You don't want that. How about, where does my data live? Is it in the cloud? Okay, what servers in the cloud is it on? Is it US based? Is it Canada based? Is it somewhere else in the world? Different worlds have different requirements for that. You want to make sure you have ownership and lock down that data as best you can. 85% of corporate data breaches happen through open ChatGPT releases. We don't think about that as a data breach, but it is. Anytime anyone puts a corporate spreadsheet into an open public license of ChatGPT, that could constitute a data breach depending on the information in that. 85%, think about that. Data sovereignty is important. This is why just using ChatGPT on your own is not good for corporate enterprise level solutions. You gotta have a scalability and protection. The Building Lifecycle Management Institute has set out some standards for this. I encourage you to go look at them. They're a great organization, and they've set out some standards for data sovereignty, nomenclatures, and things like that. These are the ways that these companies, these top 500 companies, are driving their bottom line stuff. And the newest study now has increased that number from 1% to 5% in just 2 years. So it's possible, and it's happening. It's happening today. AI is not coming, it's here. And I don't think we're going to be able to get rid of it. Intelligent automation is one of those ways they're doing it. Through asset data capture, continual condition assessments, thermal image analysis. All of these are ways that they're doing it. We'll look at asset data capture with Vision AI. A picture of that fire extinguisher tag, the pressure gauge, safety pin, safety seal, the hydrostatic date, all that information can be captured instantly with AI. How long would it take somebody to write all that down on an acquisition and transfer? When you're taking over a site, you have to create that asset registry. It usually doesn't exist. Thermal image analysis, and we're going to dig a little deeper into this in one of the short case studies that I have. This is something that's coming down the pipe a lot of people don't know about, but AI can really help you in compliance documentation that you did a thermal image analysis of your electrical equipment. I'll talk about why that's so important. But in just a few minutes, an image or a video can give you this data. Where's the hot spots? What's the delta temperature curve? Where's the location? Right? What asset ID tag is on this? Where's the panel schedule? Do I have my arc flash labeled? What's the capacity of this panel? all of that information. Right? Continual condition assessments. Everyone in this room is familiar with a FCA, facility condition assessment. You do those every 3, 5, 7, 10 years, whatever your cycle is. Imagine not having to do that every 3, 5, 7, and 10 years, but you could do it every month. You could do it every week. You could literally do it every single day with your CCTV systems that are already in your building and leveraging an AI platform. What data can you get from that? Beyond store traffic, brand compliance, condition assessments, wear patterns, loss. All of these things can be detected. Safety. There's a company out there called Voxel, and I'm no way affiliated with them other than I love what they're doing. They have AI edge devices. They can install cameras in manufacturing sites, and they watch for safety violations, OSHA regulated safety violations. And as soon as a near hit, yes, I said a near hit because near miss is not true. It was almost somebody got injured, right? So every time a near hit almost happens, they can ping the safety manager, send them an alert, and immediately initiate a retraining program. And they have all of their OSHA documentation right there in hand, instantly. No more weeks of RCAs. Any manufacturing, warehouse, yeah, RCAs suck. I've had to do quite a few, I don't like them. These are just some of the ways. We're not even talking about data analytics and any of that stuff. That's a whole nother ball. This is real. You can do it today out there in the world. You don't have to wait for this. That's what you came here to learn about. So what are people doing and how can I use it today? This is Brent Ward. Brent Ward's been a facility professional for about 40 years. He recently started his own consultancy, the Left Coast Facilities Consultant. He's in Seattle area, Oregon, Seattle, kind of that little pocket up there, right? He had a 70,000 square foot church facility in San Diego. He scheduled a 3-day asset capture. They had 0 asset registry for an acquisition. He walked that site using AI, took a picture of every data plate, over 100 assets, and in 4 hours, the asset registry was created. 4 hours. Brent told us, if I had to do this by hand, it would have taken me weeks. And the information he got, that's it. That's some of a snippet of what he was able to capture. How many of you get capacity, refrigerant types, things like that on your asset captures? A couple of us. The rest of us are left scratching our heads as operators to say, I don't know what the capacity of that panel is, contractor, you're just gonna have to get there and figure it out. Imagine having access to that data when you're bidding out a job to replace the lighting. And you can downsize that panel because you're going to LEDs from fluorescence. 4 hours. What did that mean for Brent? Well, it meant the rest of the 3 days that he had scheduled in San Diego, he could spend with his client educating them on the assets that they found, about why they need to be replaced. There were systems in there over 40 years old, refrigeration systems, cooling systems. And he was able to sit down and take the time and explain to them why you need to put this on a capital plan because that refrigerant has been discontinued and you can't even buy it anymore. So if you ever have a leak, you're gonna have to replace it, so you might as well plan for it today. Quick video. CGL Companies is an integrated facility management company. They do work in correctional facilities, courthouses, student housing. This is a move-out inspection of an apartment. It's 1 bedroom, 1 bath. When we timed them on how they did this manually, this apartment took them 8 minutes to walk through and manually document all the deficiencies that they found. Now this video is sped up to 2x speed. It's only 2 minutes and 6 seconds. 2 minutes and 6 seconds to walk this room and record it. 5 minutes later, that report was generated. Now, that is a snippet of the PDF. It's about a 26-page PDF. Happy to share it with you later. Capturing the thermostats, the conditions of the furniture, conditions of the apartment, and identifying the needs, the deficiencies. Who do I need to get in there to clean this? Who do I need to have come and fix this hole? And there's something that's coming up. When the camera turns and pans to the left, there's a water stain on the ceiling. We asked the person recording, did you see that water stain? Nope, I didn't see it. When we walk our facilities, often we look at things that we have seen for a long time, and we become blind to them, right? They just kind of blend in, oh, it's always been that way. Oh, it's always been like that. AI sees it with a fresh set of eyes every time. And it learns over time what the deficiencies are, and it can start flagging them. Hey, this is an ongoing issue, right? You add natural language processing to this and add voice notes in as you go, you bring it to a whole nother level by putting experience in the loop. Not just the human holding the camera, but the technician with the knowledge, you with your years of experience, into the video to say, I know that's not right. I know that's a code violation. That exit sign is not illuminated. I smell pond water. AI can't smell yet, but you can. And that's how you can put experience in. They had 9,000 beds across 5 geographically separated campuses throughout the state of Georgia. Those are the campuses there. On average, their beds were 4-bed or 3-bed, 3 or 4 bath. For average's sake, we boiled that down to 3 beds, 3 baths. That's 1 beds, 2 beds, but we averaged it out at 3. They were spending 9,000 labor hours across 6 human beings to create the report, the cost estimation, and send it to the registrar to bill the students. They had a KPI deliverable of 10 days from the first students move out. They'd never made that deliverable until they used AI. Because they were able to drop their labor hours from 9,000 to 1,300. From 6 people to 1. And then there was human review. But everybody had access to the information at the same time. The FM dispatched his technician. He went and walked that 2-minute video. 5 minutes later, boom. The FM, the regional, the portfolio director, the VP, all had access to that report should they want to review it. It's all dumped into a spreadsheet that they could just then send to the registrar. Here's the room charges. This is how companies are going from not AI mature to being AI mature. It's possible today. The next piece is in thermals. I wanted to say something about it. Who's familiar with NFPA 70 Bravo? One hand. The rest of you, I strongly encourage you to look this up. In 2026, the National Electric Code was updated to adopt NFPA 70 Bravo as the law of the land for thermal inspections of electrical equipment. The owner and/or operator shall annually perform thermographic electrical inspections of all electrical equipment over certain voltages. That's what it says, shall. It used to say should. But NFPA updated that, and the NEC went, great, you made it shall. And they said, we're gonna say that is the rule now. What does that mean when the NEC adopts something like that? It means that your authority having jurisdiction, your AHJ, your fire marshal, can now ask you for your thermal inspection documentation annually. And if you don't have it, you can be fined or shut down. Just like your building occupancy. Just like your fire extinguishers, your sprinklers, anything else. Because the NFPA and industry partners have realized that electrical problems are one of the leading causes of undeterminable, unpredictable fires. A lot of them generated right from electrical systems like motors and panels, from loose connections. Loose connections generate heat. A very small $200 to $500 thermal camera can detect those anomalies. The picture on the far left, Brent Ward took that on that 70,000 square foot facility model. That was one of the extra things he was able to do, was perform thermographic inspections for his client. Do we have any powered distributors? Probably not. Okay. Long line distribution inspections are a highly manual process right now. They either have to send a lineman up or they have to hire a drone operator, go fly the line. Then somebody has to sit back and watch that video and tick the time marks every time there's an anomaly. Then they have to stop the video, look at it, document it, all that. AI can do all of that. It can identify the deficiencies, document it, pass the information on. Then all that guy has to do, the human, look at the timestamps, look at those deficiencies and verify, because we don't just trust, we trust and verify, right, as FM. Verify that, yes, that is an anomaly. Yes, we need to report. Building envelope, roofing inspections, etc., same thing. We watch and catch trapped moisture under the membranes, report on that without ever sending a human on the roof, lowering safety risk, and adding annual compliance roofing inspections. If that's something in your contract, if you're in your lease agreements, in your purchase agreements. Right now you gotta hire a drone operator anyway and then wait 3 weeks for them to give you the report. If you had it in 3 hours. If you're a roofing company, this can accelerate your timeline on sales immensely. Your sales cycle goes from, okay, drone operator gives me a report in 3 weeks, then I send my core team, they take core samples, come back, now I gotta write the report. Your core team can be there with your drone guy, and as soon as the report's spit out after he's packed up his drone, they can get on the roof and start coring. What's the membrane type? How deep's the insulation? All that. These are real world examples. This is what people are doing today. Solar fields, same thing. I started by saying it's time to do it differently. The one constant throughout this timeline is there is a human being manually entering data into a system. International Facility Management Association estimates by their surveys 40 to 80 hours a month is spent on manual documentation by facility personnel. 40 to 80 hours a month. On the low end, it's 10 hours a week. 25% of your week, my week. I believe it, because I lived it. One thing that's constant in that is the human being entering the documentation. We don't have to do it that way anymore. AI can create the documentation for us. We can then be the human that verifies that information, freeing us from the keyboard, putting our text back to work, turning wrenches, not typing keys. Those 3 examples are just a fraction of what can be done. So I encourage you as we wrap up and we head out into the world, think about it differently. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. When my old manager asked me to come work for him and solve his problem, I couldn't. I had to think about it differently. So I had to step away from that company. So I can get my mind out of being a facility manager and be an ideator and look at things differently. That's all I'm asking you to do today. When you leave, think about how you do your job differently and how you can implement AI any way to improve your bottom line. Thank you so much. My name is Billy Holder. I'm the founder and CEO of Project AIDRA. That's Roger Phipps. He is our CEO and co-founder. That's what we're for any questions. The QR code on the left will take you to my LinkedIn. The QR code on the right will take you to Project AIDRA's website. Any questions? Comments? Criticisms? Concerns? Yes?
So ChatGPT, my question is,
So Nancy's question up front is, if ChatGPT is a risk, what are my options as an organization? How can I protect my organization, my data, especially in business development? So there's a lot of options out there. Enterprise versions of these platforms do exist. But my big challenge is define the problem you're trying to solve. Don't just throw AI at it. Yes, AI can do a lot of things, but you have to give it direction, right? So you have to narrowly define what problem are you trying to solve in your organization by using AI. I gave you some examples, but there are a lot of other things you can solve. So what's the pain point you're trying to solve? Then, once you narrowly define that pain point, look at what your options are. There are a lot of different solutions, endpoint solutions out there, right? Yes, we're one, but there are a lot of them. I mentioned Voxel. Elora is another. Elora can take a video and create a BIM-ready 3D model out of a cell phone video or a set of blueprints in a few hours, right? So define what problem are you trying to solve, and that's what these top companies are doing. They're defining that problem and then deploying a solution. In facilities, we're kind of the land the technology forgot, right? Let's be real, that's Roger's coined phrase, he loves it. But what's become a habit is that we're throwing technology at problems without understanding what we're trying to solve. And that's why we don't have good data across many of our organizations. It's a great question. Did that answer? Kind of. To elaborate a little bit, yes, there are private, like enterprise versions of all of these platforms. But when you use those, you still have to make sure that your data is siloed, that it's not shared, and that's a little toggle button in the settings menu that you have to switch, say do not share my data. Most of your endpoint solution providers like us, we provide a dedicated space. I gotta show that slide, or they'll get mad. And that one. We and others provide a dedicated space for your data. It's anonymized, nobody knows whose data it is in the back end, and it doesn't cross with other organizations. So these are some questions you can ask as well. Happy to go a little deeper with you after, if you would. Any other questions? Comments? Everybody's ready to go to lunch and hit the expo home? Yeah? Well, cool. Please give us some feedback, tell us what you thought. I appreciate you being here this morning. Thank you so much for your attention, and have a wonderful remainder of the show. Thanks, everybody.